Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we have another match of the A Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup. We are in round 2 and the matchup is Worldwide Wimpy versus ScottishBrave44. Commentators for this will be Seek Highwind and I should have asked before, Rufian. Say hello.
Perfect. Hello.
Thank you, Siberian. And we've got a good race.
That we do. Again, this is a game 2. Scottish Brave took the first game. We're in round 2 of the bracket stage of the Challenge Cup play here. And let's get ready for some standard action on the screen. Zeke, do you want to talk about what we're about to see here?
Absolutely. So, like the rest of the Challenge Cup, we're playing with a standard world state. We will be doing the escape sequence, and we will be given a random weapon. There's, I want to say 6 weapons it can give you, but we all know that it's going to want to give bombs anyways.
I want to say 7. You can get a bow, a sword, a hammer, a fire rod, a cane of Samaria, or a cane of Berna, or you can get 10 bombs from Uncle, because, you know, that'll be fun.
Exactly. While I joke that we want to see the bombs, we have seen a lot of bow, and I do think bow is one of the ones that shows good skill in your escape, so I'd be interested in seeing more.
Is there one you think these two runners are probably not looking forward to seeing?
Cane of Berna?
Cane of Berna. Cane of Samaria is a fun one, but it's tricky to actually do quickly. And in just a moment here, we're going to see what this seed has for our runners. Early powder is a nice safety to have on moving forward here, because that's going to be opening up a check in Kakariko if we see a hammer.
That almost makes the runners want to see that hammer intro.
It will indeed be interesting to see whether or not the hammer shows up rather early, or we might be looking for that later on as, let's see here, I'm going to drop and see just what Uncle has in store for us today. Well then.
So that early hammer is actually really nice with that early powder, because that adds one more check to our Kakariko trip.
Alright, so as we go through the escape sequence, we'll probably see them try to knock off a few of the guards here. See a small magic, that's a good sign. We're looking for a bomb. Single bomb drop from any enemy will allow us to get the 3 checks in the back of escape, instead of having to come back later.
Which hurts most if your first glove is back there. Because you don't want the first glove to be in the back and not be able to get bombs, because otherwise you go all the way back through the sewers to get it.
Alrighty, so we are guaranteed to get that sewers key in one of these first 3 checks, either here in the map check, in the boomerang chest, or all the way down in Zelda's cell. Now that's a sword, so we have an early sword and a hammer.
This seed's giving us all the combat advantage already, isn't it?
Things looking rather open in terms of combat for the early game here. We'll have to see what logical implications these items have moving forward.
I believe the key can also be in Dark Cross as well.
That is true. You could have the key in its vanilla placement. Although, oh, hello.
Wow. So bombs are not as important now because the bomb wall for back escape can be bonked open.
And those boots are going to mean both runners will be moving fast and gives us an extra check or 2. Now, that does possibly incentivize having a look at the Lumberjack ledge in a few minutes after they're done with the sequence. We'll have to see whether both runners or one runner makes that decision.
That's a mushroom.
Alright, the fetch quests are coming in fast and hard here. We got mushroom and powder. Any thoughts on that?
There's a part of me that would consider making a trip directly to Mushroom and then doing a Houlihan. But just because we have the Mushroom, but we don't need to save it for fake powder.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mushroom have something rude like the Moon Pearl. Mushroom to Houlihan, what is this? Cross keys? Zeke, have you been playing too much cross keys?
Usually. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, right now, we're just rolling through the standard motions here. All right, as we discussed earlier, that key is going to be in its vanilla location in Dark Cross, so...
Kind of important to grab along the way. Now, the one other thing our runners will be looking for in the back of Escape is the map.
So this is very important. If you don't see the map in these back 3 checks, then you can just, completely ignore the chest in Sanctuary because you know it has to be the map. If you do see it, well, then you just open the Sank chest because it's an item. And it is the former.
Is the former?
It is the former. The map is in the Sank chest, so we won't be seeing our runners open that today, provided they remember. Alrighty, and Scottish Brave is going to leave into Sanctuary right about 5.5 minutes and change, and she's going to pick up the map.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is not remember if you've seen the map or not, and then end up leaving a major item. That is a 3 blue crystal light world, Zeke.
Always nice to see a potential 3-dependent Dark World. And we're getting that early Bonkrock check because we have the boots.
And that's a Master Sword. Okay, 2 swords and a hammer early. I'm starting to worry about where our gloves might be, unless Kakariko happens to be stacked today.
I don't want to see a lamp.
The lamp is probably the last thing these runners want to see right now. And so far, no bombs showing up. Nothing off the Tier 2 tree pull, but the Hoarder is paying out in 4s. So we're going to have a full complement of bombs going to Kakariko. That's going to be a nice feeling.
That looks like money on the Lumberjack ledge from that brief check.
Yeah, that looked like the unique 100 rupee pile. I don't believe we'll be seeing our runners picking that up. So to answer a question in chat, in the standard escape sequence, they give you a complimentary light cone. In the vanilla game, Zelda won't even go into the sewers without a lamp, so the rando devs decided, hey, we're going to make it so that you can at least see what's going on.
I like to think that Zelda actually has a lamp, but she won't give it to you.
So that light cone is present in the escape sequence, but no other dark room in the game will be lit without a lamp.
We had a nice 300 on the mushroom spot, so we have plenty of money.
A lot of money, a lot of checks, and a full complement of bombs again, so we won't be leaving anything behind, especially if a bottle shows up in one of these mini chests here. You can literally clean up all of Kakariko in one swoop.
And even without a bottle, it's easy enough to go back to Sick Kid if you need to. You just make a trip there before you go to the Dark World from the village.
Well, so far, nothing doing. Blind's hut was entirely empty.
Plus, I had bombs, so it made looking for those bombs earlier not feel as good.
Yeah, when you get your 4 bomb drops from the Hoarder, at that point, it just doesn't feel good to see bombs coming for free. We do have the well coming up, though. It's another 5, so let's see what's going on here.
We have a boomerang.
We have a bow. Ooh.
This seed's giving us options early.
Things are feeling kind of open, but also kind of pinched, because even with that bow, unless you see a lamp or a fire rod, your Almost Knights fight is not going to be in logic. But there's your glove. I hate to break it to you folks, but unless we've got a Moon Pearl on the Pyramid Ledge, we're not seeing Aghanim die today.
Please don't curse them.
Not trying to. I already see in chat call for flute for checkerboard. Isn't that just the most meme location that isn't Pyramid?
I mean, depends on how nasty a chain you want to go into, but yes.
Alright, so Scottish Brave has pulled out the hammer, and she's going to go pay a visit to the Magic Bat.
You never get to feed the bat this early.
Now, this is not a check you usually think about doing in your early spheres. Usually you're getting powder or mushroom and cane rather late, and it's something you just kind of go about doing Smith Chain or in late isolated check mode. Well, today it's a mirror.
That's big.
That's probably rather important here. I would hazard to guess that's probably what the game intends us to use to get to Hera.
We still can't logically get there because of the lamp, but...
You know, logic is a suggestion, Zeke.
It's still an enticing play, because if you remember the lamp logic around the items you pick up there, that is a lot of items up there.
Not only that, but if you find the lamp on the mountain, you'll know that there's a flute down here somewhere. Yeah, they've got plenty of shots with their bows, so they're not going to pick up those 10 arrows. I believe Scottish Brave is... Is she setting up for a Houlihan here, Zeke?
I doubt the Houlihan, but definitely a mushroom. I stand corrected.
I think I like this call. You can water walk all the way to Zora, and if you know the Splash Delete over the waterfall, that's a nice check to make.
Meanwhile, Wimpy is giving us our first look at the floodgate, including using a mirror delete to get both checks at once. Very useful.
Alright, in just a moment we'll have Brave joining him in the South Shore area. Although he looks like he wants to go check out what's going on at Agina's cave.
Not a bad idea. You get to get the isolated check out of the way very quickly. It's not that slow of a check with boots, so...
And I'm seeing runners do this more and more as the tournament goes along. It's kind of become, you know, it's not really something that you see happen all the time, but hybridizing your route into South Shore just to make sure you don't leave the Sphere 1 Agina is honestly pretty nice, especially if you happen to unearth something.
I blame some of the qualifiers for that.
Unfortunately, as we saw today, it wasn't really anything lucrative, just another 20 rupees, so Scottish Brave will be the first to show us these 5 checks in Mini Moldworm Cave.
which is another empty 5-item cave. Some health is nice, though.
Yeah, now we're talking about 7 hearts, still on green mail. Again, this is normal item pool, so our mail upgrades will be available, and probably welcome in some cases.
As you were saying, there is a water walk we can do to Zora.
Indeed there is, and while she's set up to go ahead and just take care of that, Wimpy is a couple rupees short. And we'll not have a problem obtaining those couple rupees once he checks Ice Rod Cave.
Another 300?
And suddenly we went from, can we afford Zora to, well, that's plenty of money to fly around this entire seed with. We can literally buy everything that we need.
On a comment in chat, Zora does not... the game does not factor rupees into logic, unfortunately. Because it does mean that Zora can be in logic with no good way to farm money.
And it's the same for anything that would be considered a bomb check. When you start a randomizer seed, the game automatically assumes that you have access to bombs and money. So while 500 rupees might be hard to come by, what actually makes Zora an in-logic check is the combination of a glove or flippers. The ability to get up here, in other words.
As a result, we don't need to see a splash delete because of that 20... because of the 20 rupee on the ledge, but Zora is the only check up here that is in logic. Those checks in the Waterfall Ferry are not logical without the flippers.
And from the fish, we get a Moon Pearl. That's Dark World access at the 15-minute mark.
For once, the scam fish doesn't scam us.
You've got to go to Hype Cave here, right? You've got to.
Almost definitely.
Oh, this is very interesting. We're going to see some divergent paths. Scottish Brave decides that she wants to go at least check Sahasrara before going into the Dark World.
I also don't disagree with this. This gets you last Sphere 1 checks from Saha, although it's not as enticing anymore because that is Green Pendant Palace of Darkness.
That's interesting. You've got all of your pendants on the east side of the world, your 5-6 crystals on the southwest, and a blue crystal on Thieves Town and Skull Woods. Not really a jet kind of layout. That means we will need the flute, we will need the Cane of Samaria, and we need at least one medallion.
Up until Pendant, it looks enticing because of you could clear out 2 crystals in one run by going to the Dark World from Eastern. And Worldwide Wimpy takes an unfortunate death to the enemies in the overworld. Those enemies do a lot of damage.
Yeah, anytime you walk into a Ropa in the overworld, that's 2 hearts of damage. Those zeros that drop the bombs on you, those are 2 hearts of damage. Even just touching a moblin does 2 hearts of damage. Dark World, not exactly a safe place for Link on low HP.
So Pendant, Pod, Ice, and Turtle Rock. That's an interesting layout for certain.
I did see what Wimpy had to do there, is he had 1 bomb coming to Dark World, so he went up to the bomb shop to pay 100 rupees for 10, and got nipped.
It's actually something we don't see much in Rando, but it's actually a 20 rupee, a 20 bomb purchase there. It's just that we can only afford to put 10 in there.
Yeah, in order to take full advantage of those 20 bombs, you would need to go visit the upgrade ferry in Lake Hylia. I don't think anyone's really going out of their way to do that.
And our good friend Stumpy Day only has bombs.
All right. They can opt to get this check as well. With the mirror, we're going to see K45. Worldwide Wimpy steps in first, and he witnesses another piece of heart.
A piece of heart that stays there.
Yeah, our runners with 7 and 8 hearts respectively, they're turning their noses up at little pieces of heart at this point, is going out of your way for a quarter of an HP upgrade at this level is not really something that, as a runner, you feel like you really need to do.
$27 digs for a piece of heart. That's almost offensive.
But still better than NMG.
That's true. Dig game is set to always come out within the first 30 digs. NMG is not.
Well, NMG is not guaranteed to pay out in your first play, let alone within the 30th dig.
This is true.
All right, so with not too much else logical on the table, both runners now making their way into Village of Outcasts. With Glove and Hammer, gonna have to go into the woods and take that loop around.
Gotta go into the woods and out of the woods.
You think anyone takes a gander at the front of Skull Woods here?
Possibly. And it looks like Wimpy is giving us a gander at the front of Skull Woods.
Oh, Scottish Brave, we don't have mitts yet. She's going to follow him in. I think this is interesting, seeing as we have a full clearable Thieves Town just south.
This does give our runners the option of checking the North Dark World area before coming to Village of Outcasts. And Wimpy is dropping into the front of Skullwoods.
I think this is a good play. I certainly don't mind this play, as we see Scottish Brave deciding to do the same thing.
Yeah. I always worry doing it, just in case the keys are kind of, locked in terrible spots. But I think there's a key. There has to be a key in these three checks down here.
There has to be, because otherwise, there has to be at least one key between the first 5 checks of Skull Woods in order to be able to get to any of the doors that are in this front section. So this really isn't... I don't know. Well, we've got all 3 keys in the front of Skull Woods, so...
Not a promising Skull Woods layout, let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't mind dropping into the left side of Skull Woods because, with 3 keys in the dungeon, you're almost assured to get 1. But in this case, getting all 3, we're going to see Scottish Brave go into that middle segment. And we're going to have a key we don't really need going going to Mothula later on. You don't usually see people boomerang those Gibdos like that.
It's not a commonly known thing that you can stun them with boomerang.
Now, chat pointing out, you can get soft lock if there isn't a key in one of those first 3 checks. There's a good likelihood that you have a key in one of the first 4 that you can do in the front of Skull Woods, but it's by no means a guarantee.
Anyone who plays Keysandy knows what's like to get soft locked in there.
Alright, Village of Outcasts. We're opting to skip looking at Bumper and going to Graveyard Ledge for the moment. We also have Kingstown we could have done, but,
Scottish Brave is opting to skip. Worldwide Wimpy is going to check our North Dark World.
Alright, so there's an item we can look at but not obtain. Not that we really want it, as it's just 20 rupees. And he will have the ability to get these other 2 checks if he so chooses, and he's veering right. Oh. Okay. Fetch quests intensify.
Shovel and Brewery?
Shovel and Brewery.
Do you want to do a fetch quest?
We still haven't seen that mushroom turned in, so that could be something as well.
And the Graveyard Ledge. Nice place to get bomb refill. Has a boomerang.
You get some blue booms, and you leave the blue boom.
Exactly. And King's Tomb. Our last North Dark World out of the way check here.
That's
a fire rod.
Rather important.
I mean, we only need it to get to Mothula. If you're in Wimpy Shoes, do you go back to Skullwoods right now?
I think you do. You know, there's an item back there that you can obtain, and that's not a bad situation to go fight
now,
Mothula.
The cape just showed up in Thieves' Town.
You think maybe that's going to push her to check North Dark World next?
I think it could.
I was starting to worry maybe that this route was going to turn Scottish Brave away from going up in towards that fire rod, but that cape, that's probably going to change some stuff here.
It also depends on what else is here in Skullwoods. I think we have at least one more item in the back of Skullwoods, because the big key has to show up in the first 4. I just don't remember if we saw 2 or 3 items in the front along with the big key.
We saw exactly 1 item in Skullwoods out of the 2 that can be possible.
Apologies, I meant Thieves' Town.
Oh, okay. Didn't see what's going on with Thieves' Town. I know the first check was an item, and after that we saw the fire rod.
The first item in Thieves' Town was an item?
Was indeed.
All right, there are one item in the back. There is one item in the back of Thieves' Town. Because checks 3 and 4 in Thieves' Town were the cape and a 3 bomb pack.
Worldwide Wimpy's going to have to farm a little bit of magic here to be able to get by in this next room. Light all these torches.
We got a flute in the bridge check.
Oh, did we? Oh boy, that is a required flute. And that puts the mountain into play.
Excellent use of Boomerang by Wimpy to get through the Gibdo room. And as chat says, finding the flute here in Skullwoods is a convenient place because you can activate it before entering Thieves' Town.
Alright, so we have a Master Sword 7-heart green male fight for Worldwide Wimpy against Mothula. This is just for the crystal. You have both items out of the dungeon. Meanwhile, Scottish Brave is about to go play with Blind, and Blind has our 4th item in Thieves' Town.
Also has our daily pun, because archers give gifts tied with a bow.
You just had to shoot that one out there, didn't you? Alright, Worldwide Wimpy, victorious against Mothula. He's going to pick up our first crystal of the match here at the 27-minute mark.
As Scottish Brave is victorious against Blind, picking up her first crystal of the match about 15 seconds later.
So we're going to see trading crystals probably here as, well, frankly, if Scottish Brave goes north and gets the fire rod, I wouldn't be surprised to see her go directly to Skullwoods.
There wouldn't be a better time to go do it. And it looks like we are going straight to North Dark World from here, which makes sense. We did just get a cape. So if something is on Bumper Ledge...
Yeah, that cape is a super fortunate placement for Scottish Brave. She's going to go right up here, see she doesn't need this, and continue on. And pick up a fire rod just a few moments later.
So while our runners overlap, I'll just give a quick thanks to our trackers today for letting us talk and pushing some buttons. So thanks to Trace Spire and Professor Pixie.
Keeping us honest and keeping us entertained as well, as Professor Pixie's made sure that we know what's going on even if we miss something. And a shout out today to our restreamer, of course, Siberian, in the background, making sure everything's running smoothly for us here at ZeldaSpeedRuns.
And Worldwide Wimpy activates his flute. And of course, how could we forget, follow the runners. They're putting on a great show for us.
This is a game 2 of the second round of Challenge Cup brackets. Both these runners have made their rounds, and they are showing what they've got. And will continue to do so as this tournament unfolds.
And Scottish Brave picks up a fire rod.
And she's going right back west, so good for her. She is going to find herself a flute in Skullwoods, and they'll be basically foot in foot again.
Has a very slight advantage in the Mothula fight on Worldwide Wimpy, just by the advantage of having 2 extra heart containers.
She's also got a full magic bar from having defeated Blind. Wimpy had to actually farm magic in the back of Skullwoods to even have enough to light the torches. So she'll have an extra little blanket of security dropping into the moth fight. Little ranged weapon action is not something that's terribly bad.
The less hugs you have to take from Mothula, the better.
One thing that you pointed out earlier that I'd be a little bit surprised to see Scottish Brave do right now is go straight to the bridge check. I think the more optimal play that you see a lot of runners do here is go straight to Moth, as she is currently doing. So,
I definitely agree with it in Scottish's case, because she'll be able to get that bridge check and then do a save and quit, because there's not much else up here for her.
I'm not sure about a save and quit until she activates that flute, though.
You always gotta love that Wallmaster intercepting your fireball after it hits the torch.
Alright, so with a couple shots having missed in that torch puzzle, Scottish Brave is out of magic. She'll have one shot going into the moth fight. But she does have some hearts, which is exactly what Wimpy entered with.
So this fight's back on even terms. As Worldwide Wimpy is in the attic. You don't like this fight because those spikes will interrupt your spin and stop your movement when they do so, dragging you right back into them just like that.
To do this Spins Mothula fight, it's a very patient fight. You have to be careful with your movement. You have to hope for a little bit of luck from RNG as to where and when those spikes come across the screen. As we see, Mothula is just camping the corner and just in a sea of spikes, but Scottish Brave gets it done. She'll pick up a compass and know she has to go back in.
You know what this key layout means?
Yeah, we've got an item where you don't usually see it.
Because Skullwoods is a great dungeon. You don't need the big key to get to the boss. As such, the big key only has one use.
It's kind of hard to open that chest when the key's inside of it.
Maybe we should drag the Skullwoods big chest down to the locksmith down by Desert.
That might be a little bit... You need Titansmiths to pick that thing up.
as Worldwide Wimpy gives us our second blind fight of the match.
Alright, Scottish Brave is opting to reverse Skullwoods to leave here. She's going to activate her flute. I wouldn't be surprised to see her dart right up the mountain here. And a beautifully executed on-script fight by Worldwide Wimpy.
Yeah, that was a beautiful blind fight from Wimpy. I could see a trip down to Shovel Spot while we're in the area. But other than that...
I still feel like you activate your flute, go to Shovel, maybe you check the mushroom on your way up as well.
Yeah, I could see a trip down to Shovel while we're in the area before we go up the mountain.
Alright, Wimpy's going to go ahead and clean up the rest of Village of Outcasts, and we'll see Scottish Brave activate her flute.
So I guess the big outstanding question right now is, where are the Titan Smiths? Because that's the only thing missing to open the seed up some more.
I like this interesting call by Worldwide Wimpy. He is now headed over to Eastern Palace with the potential for an in-logic Armos Knights fight.
He has not had a trip to Sahasrara either, so it's a fairly lucrative check account, as Scottish Brave takes us directly to the Mushroom check.
Just $20, so if you need that for potion money there, you can stash it for later. She is gonna go straight to Eastern as well? This is curious.
I'm not surprised. We do have a Crystal Eastern put in logic by that Fire Rod.
Only possibly, though. If the big key is in its vanilla location, we know it's locked by a lamp. But the Fire Rod does make this traversal a lot easier to maintain as well.
And these runners are both skilled enough, they won't mind the Dark Room. It's a good time to check these last Sphere 1 locations in the front of Eastern, and take out the Crystal in or out of logic.
I'm mostly curious about is having the same item set to be able to do pod. We didn't see either runner opt for that.
Pendant Pod.
Green Pendant Pod. With Saha right there, that has to be at least somewhat tempting.
But you don't want to gamble too hard on pendants early, especially when Death Mountain just opened up.
And we're not just talking a little bit of Death Mountain, we're talking all of East Death Mountain on the light side is open for our runners here. You got 7 checks in Paradox and a check in Spiral, and if you happen to find your mitts, that opens an additional 6.
In addition to West Death Mountain and its dungeon on top. And that's Ether. And that is a big key in its vanilla location.
That is indeed. So we'll know that the Armos Knights battle and the big chest item will be out of logic. However, again, logic being a suggestion, neither of these runners really care about that. Wimpy is making his way through the Dark Room. This is one of the first Dark Rooms that you learn in A Link to the Past Randomizer. It is a very simple traversal to go across one room and pick up a key, and then just, dodge the enemies, and boom, you're back in the light again.
It's certainly easier than the other Dark Room here in Eastern Palace for a beginner.
And that's why the Fire Rod is so important here. It's that extra little safety blanket if you do need to be able to see what you're shooting at. That one eye go over with the key. If you get him off of his step towards you, finding him again can be a pain.
At that point, I'd almost argue the best thing to do is reset the room.
And if they need to, they have infinite tries with those fairy pot drop-downs right there. Another piece of heart in the big chest puts Wimpy at 8 hearts now. Still one behind Scottish Brave. I believe he skipped the library heart container that we saw earlier on, so other than that, they are pretty much check for check with each other, with the slight edge to Brave for having already done both Waterfall and Sahasrara.
Which is why this play makes more sense for Wimpy at this point, because of the additional early sphere checks of Sahasrara.
And I think the other thing they're thinking about too is you don't really want, as we discussed, to go independent dungeons so early. until you're actually starting to have to look for stuff. So, being that it is Pendant Pod, having to mirror back to Eastern after a non-lucrative Pendant dive wouldn't feel very good to begin with. Now, getting back to the pod area is literally just a flute away, so not really a bad deal here.
And the Worldwide Wimpy does set up the Armos quick kill and gets a hook shot.
Alright, that does change a few things for us here. That means we are simply flippers away from a full clearable Swamp Palace, which is kind of cool to think about. And that hook shot's going to be a lot of helpful movement for both runners here once Brave picks hers up. Got a few options on how you might choose to tackle Death Mountain now. Alright, so Wimpy is going to pick up his stash of rupees and arrows in the back of Sahasrarla's closet.
Scottish does unfortunately miss the quick kill, but still gets her hook shot.
And now Wimpy will turn in his mushroom before he flies off to the mountain, is what I'm presuming he'll do here.
As both runners arrive on the mountain, almost synchronized with each other. This would be the second dark room that beginners tend to learn, because this is a very simple dark path to pick up the old man.
Yeah, the only real thing that can trip you up here is that pit that you see them walking down and around to avoid. Well, you can't see it. It's in the dark. But there is one 2x2 tile pit there that you can fall into. That, if you don't know where it is, it can kind of trip you up a little bit.
It's slightly harder if you go from the front for beginner, because you do have to do 2 dark rooms.
Alright, so both runners have decided they're going up the mountain to see what's going on in Spectacle Rock before they go over to Hera or down the other side of the mountain. And nothing else really showing up here, so I would say probably direct to Hera here.
I'd probably go direct to her, and I'd probably pick up that 300 on the mountain, depending on my rupee count.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Worldwide Wimpy pick up that 300. Scottish Brave is going to intentionally avoid it because she's got more money than she knows what to do with right now. You can't even buy a potion with the amount of rupees that our runners have right now, because to this point we still have not seen a bottle.
You know what the other advantage of doing Eastern before Hera is in this seed?
Oh, you get to skip something here in Hera, don't ya? You get to skip something that takes a little bit of time. And it's easy to set up having the boots.
Ew, I don't like that key being there.
Alright, folks, we're going to see a Hera pot from both of these runners here. Wimpy opting to use the old bomb setup. This looks like the Jakar setup that some players still cling to. There are a couple different ways you can set up the bomb. And with a little bit of hook speed, Brave gets hers really quick.
Always fun to see 2 different Hera pot strategies side by side.
Ooh, that key Lumen Large now with a possible item in the basement. Half Magic being the first item we get out of Hera. With Fire Rod, that is a pretty nice find.
So, we have a compass, or an item, on Moldorm. And as a runner myself, I'd rather see an item.
I think any runner in this situation would absolutely prefer to see an item here.
Some good old Hammer Moldorm strats.
And chat pointing out, with the pickup of that half magic and the cape in our inventory, Spike Cave has come into logic.
You do that last. That's compass.
It is, in fact, a compass. And we have an enraged Moldorm, and Wimpy edgeguards himself to a victory. If you're these runners, you have to drop back in, right?
If you don't go back in, when do you go?
I think the only other time you might consider coming back is if you see a book, if you're possibly last locating with Ether and Hera Basement being a couple of your only locations, possibly with Mitts. Well, it's a moot conversation now because both runners have said, hey, we don't have too much else to look at here. Give me an item.
So we're here in our Tower of Hera-sponsored coffee break. So we've had very similar routing so far between these runners.
Well, we've had a little bit of flip-flopping here and there, a couple things checked here, a couple things checked there that have actually, no tides have actually turned here. Despite a flip-flop between Skullwoods and Thieves Town, a visit to Sahasrahla earlier late, these runners are almost check for check, step for step, and Brave will be the first to come out of the tile room. And that's just more money.
For runners who already have more money than they know what to do with, especially with no bottles in sight.
Chat, and actually one of our trackers pointing out, if you don't do that now, chances are you never will unless it's your last location. So instead of possibly leaving something you might need at the Basement of Hera, both the runners opting to take that into their own hands and out of consideration, just getting it out of the way.
Every runner has a story of leaving something in Hera Basement.
There are two kinds of runners in this community, whether you're a veteran or you're new to this randomizer. Those who have left an item in the Tower of Hera Basement, and those who are about to.
A spiral cave with just some money and...
I find it curious that Wimpy decided to check Spike Cave first. It didn't pay out, but it was possibly faster to do that than to have to go down and around through Paradox to come back up and get it.
To be fair, what if that check was Mitts?
Then we'd be talking about how gross Spike Cave is.
Hey, speaking of bottles and our ice rod.
Not something you want to see. Not something you want to see is that ice rod.
For a moment, I forgot we had a pendant Turtle Rock again.
Now, I don't believe, unless we have a medallion for Meyer on the pedestal, that ice rod can't really lead to much.
Hey, that's another bottle!
There's your lamp!
I was wondering where our bottles were hiding today. What about you?
Well, I'm not wondering anymore, because we found two of them.
Yeah, and now our hookshot is in logic.
It is indeed. Gross. Yeah, but more importantly, that does put Green Pendant Pod into logic, which is, not great either. Yeah.
We're kind of running out of places for the myths.
We are indeed, and without access to dungeons like Swamp Palace and Desert, it looks like Pod's gonna have to have our answer here.
Wonderful. You gotta love having make a green pendant dive. At least it's a green pendant if you have to finish the dungeon off.
So a question that comes to mind here then is, if you do make the dive into a pendant dungeon like Pod, at what point do you consider either leaving or finishing it out?
Titan's mitts.
You'd leave on mitts.
I would leave on mitts because that opens up so much more items.
One could argue it opens up the rest of the game here.
And we're getting our sick kid check. Just a piece of heart.
Scottish Brave opting to see what's on the desert ledge and visit Agina, which we saw was just a red 20, but this is again a Tier 1 check that you probably want to get done sooner than later.
And Wimpy is giving us our shovel check.
Buried treasure, and not a lot of it.
So, Palace of Darkness?
And Palace of Darkness is looking like the answer here. Not exactly how you'd like to draw it up.
I mean, there's also Pyramid Ledge and Catfish, but...
Ooh, mitts on Catfish, you'd hate to see it.
Haven't we all heard that story already?
Nothing worse than a gloveless Dark World access, where you go around all the way the west side of the Dark World with the hook shot, down to Hype Cave for your first glove, with mitts on Catfish. Not that anyone's ever had to do that before.
And we pay the extortion monkey to open the front door for us.
Hey, yeah, we finally have a use for that money that we've been accumulating. Huh, how about that? Alright, with that bow coming in rather early, we don't really care if this is bow locked or not, though the front of the pod will be guaranteed to give us at least 4 keys. So, that being one of them, let's see what Wimpy decides to do with this knowledge.
Yeah, I like the meta play of go through the front door if you get a key there, check the front and drop down to get to the right side.
If you get a key here, do you consider the big key chest, or do you leave it until you know there's an item in it?
I grab it.
Oh,
it's a quick enough check.
So, yeah, we got a map, so it's more than likely a key at this point.
Yeah, if I don't get a key from that arena bridge, I will leave the vanilla big key until toward the end. To answer a question in chat on whether if you find a big key on the right, do you do Helma now or do you leave it for the end? I'm of the opinion that depends on if it's a crystal or a pendant myself.
Being a green pendant, I might be tempted to take a visit to Helma, but in this situation, I believe our runners are just looking to see where our progression might be. I think if you dig for items and find nothing, you still do Helma in this situation. I don't think you rush Helma.
I also agree with someone else in chat answering that it's more common for Helma Rush if you don't have that mirror.
That's true, because not being able to mirror to the front has a lot to say about the dungeon. And we didn't get a big key, so this conversation can... well, it's locked somewhere in the back of the dungeon, which means we're going to have to go get it anyway.
So, do you consider going back for the vanilla big key check here, since we got 4 keys and there's still that check?
I'll forget whether or not I'd consider it. Worldwide Wimpy sure is. And not just him either. Oh no, she's resetting. She's going to go straight to the back. If this is a compass, I swear. Oh my god, Pod.
Every time, Zaru.
I'm so sorry, Worldwide Wimpy.
Oh hey, the other cane. I think we prefer the red one.
Oh, this is definitely... There's your big key. This is definitely saying absolutely nothing about this dungeon. Now we have an item in Harmless Hellway. Oh, come on. This pendant pod dive never feels good. We don't?
We don't?
We do. We had 3 keys. Oh, no, you're right.
Because Brave skipped the vanilla big key.
But she's going to go straight to Dark Maze and know that the item on the big key location is... Well, actually, she might still do it. Ooh. But we know now, between these 2 runners, that there is an item on Helmasaur King in addition to that green pendant. The question is, do you just go to Helma, and if it's the item on Helmasaur, you don't bother with the big key location? Or do you bank that this is an item that you need for progression? Because it looks like Helma's going to be required here, Zeke.
I would say Helma is required for our progression, and this seed is being very stingy, and it looks like Brave is going to gamble on that 50-50.
I like
Will
this
be rewarded this time.
I really like this call by Scottish Brave. If you get the item off Helmasaur King here, you don't even think about that big key location again. You know it can't be anything. And in addition to that, this is also your green pendant.
Helma is guaranteed to be an item. And possibly two.
Mitts on green pendant. Gross.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Why is it always Mitts in Pod or Thieves Town? I don't get it.
We've been wondering that for a while.
So this is a pretty good gambit for Scottish Brave. She has a couple steps. She's a couple rooms now ahead of Worldwide Wimpy. In the grand scheme of things, they're still neck and neck.
Yeah, this is a close race, so very exciting one to be watching.
As we approach the hour mark, we'll just reset here for just a moment. This is a Challenge Cup brackets round 2, game 2. Scottish Brave up 1-0. And as you can see on the screen, our runners have pretty much been in lockstep, with the exception of a couple shakes and rattles and rolls here, where they were in opposite places at the same time. It's been a remarkably close race from the start of the gate here.
It's amazing what basically starting the seed with 2 swords and a Pegasus boots can do for a seed.
Oh, very favorable movement pattern from Helmasaur King for Scottish Brave. She just gets right up in his face because he got right up in hers, and off goes the mask.
And Helmasaur King is not spamming fireballs, too. This is a very favorable boss pattern.
Well, here's the moment of truth. Is it on Helma, or do we have to pay a visit to the Sage? Which we'll probably do anyway. It's Mitts on Helmasaur King.
Every time.
Come on, Pendant Pod, come on!
Green pendant Helmasaur King. Carrying the Titan's mitts. Let's go visit Sahasrara anyways.
Yeah, let's do it. Get the green pendant check out of the way, because it might be your flippers, and if it is, you're in possible go mode as soon as you find the cane.
Or it might be the inverse of that. But let's be honest, it's probably 20 rupees.
I don't know, I was thinking 10 arrows myself. Oh my god.
Wow, nice flippers!
Did the curse turn into a blessing? We are one item from possible go mode, but I think we're gonna go have a look at the mire area after a look on Death Mountain.
I like this Death Mountain play because you don't have the cane to get into Turtle Rock, you might not have the medallion to get into Pendant Turtle Rock, and it will take out the 6 checks sitting by Pendant Turtle Rock, so you don't have to go to Pendant Turtle Rock.
And now, actually, at this point, unless it has our mire medallion, Turtle Rock is dead. Pendant Turtle Rock can't have anything for our runners unless we find the cane and know that we need a medallion for mire. And in addition to that, we have another crystal we can clear in Desert, accessible by the mitts and the flute through the mirror.
Now, this is an interesting gamble from Wimpy. Making that dive into Swamp Palace. If Swamp Palace has nothing, it's a dungeon that could have been go-moded. So it entirely depends on what we find here. Versus what we find up here on Death Mountain.
Keep your eyes peeled, folks. This is the first major bit of divergence we've had in this run, and that is solely from the fact that Helmasaur King had not only one item, but 2 items of major progression.
So, Hookshot Cave, nothing is on Floating Island. We remember that. We are possibly one item, possibly two, from Go Mode, because we also do not know the Meyer Medallion.
Got some kind of ugly checks to think about in the meantime as well. You still have the possibility for the book to show up. You still have the chance that Smith Chain is harboring something in those 3 checks. And I would hope that we see a visit to the Meyer area sooner than later. You want to kind of peace of mind your way out of, oh god, do I have to find another medallion? Having only one, not really a happy spot to be in as a runner at this stage of the game.
And you said we had another clearable crystal dungeon. We have 2. Because in addition to this Swamp Palace dive from Wimpy, we have a Desert Palace capable, and that's Quake. Isn't it?
That is, in fact, Quake to enter Meyer, which means that we are 2 items from Go Mode. It all kind of goes down to where... Oh.
Wow!
Oh, there's 1 key under the mat, so we're a medallion hunt, and it's just as bad as Ice Rod Hunt, where the only place that Quake Medallion can't be is anything that the Quake Medallion locks. And awkwardly enough, Scottish Brave did not look at the entry for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that is concerning. But also, somebody put the cane under the doormat of Misery Mire.
Who put that there? It's like you take it out of one big chest and just hide it in a smaller chest, and then hide that smaller chest in a closet somewhere. It's like... Huh. Hello, Meyer Medallion on Trinex. No, thank you.
Do we have to visit Trinex?
I hope not.
I'd rather visit Cold Stare.
I think they're both saying, I hope not as well. Well, at least Brave is, because to our knowledge right now, Wimpy has full intent in mind to full clear Swamp Palace, as we're seeing a setup for a diver down, and not having Kane, he's going to have to use the bomb strats.
Chat also pointing out, Quake can be on PED.
Those are some curse words. Don't be saying that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I should know better. ZSR, don't hurt me for saying such bad things on Restream.
Well, we weren't even boots locked in deserts, so now we can just kind of poke around for items as we so choose.
I like this route from Brave. After finding that big key, it will let you get Mirror from the big key chest. And there's our 3rd shield.
That's kind of awkward to be finding here, isn't it?
If you have to go to Laser Bridge, it makes getting these items there easy. But again, I'd rather not go to Laser Bridge.
Yeah, I would be hazarding a guess. Nobody wants to go to Laser Bridge. Nobody wants to go to Left Side Swamp, and we see at least 1 item over here. I do think it was a good call by Wimpy as well, knowing that there was at least 1 item, just get it out of the way instead of possibly orphaning something on the left side of Swamp. We've seen games decided by Left Side Swamp, and it never feels good.
Yeah. Wimpy doesn't want their cane to be Left Side Swamp at this exact moment. Which, fortunately for him, it's not.
And having the big key having shown up in front, this is a fully clear in one-shot dungeon for Wimpy. So now we're in that situation of, if Desert doesn't have the goods, what do you do next?
It also depends on if the back of Swamp doesn't have the goods. Because the next logical step, if Quake is not in Desert, is to go to Swamp for Scottish Brave. Wimpy doing a little dance to try and get his pixel position correct for that diver down. As Scottish Brave enters the Lanmolas fight.
With half magic and Fire Rod, Lanmolas is just going to melt down here. And she is making it look easy.
Excellent 1 cycle. And it was not the answer.
But it is another crystal, and that puts us at 5 for Scottish Brave. And coming into his 5th is Worldwide Wimpy. So chat is conspiracy theorying about what could be on pedestal, Zeke.
The only thing that can be on pedestal for us is Quake or something leading to Quake. And the only something leading to Quake we have left is the book.
I have no words. Alright, so this is going to be Swamp Palace for Scottish Brave. And I think she's got the right idea here. You've got a full clearable crystal, you just take it down. Unless Argus has something, it's not going to gain her any headway, but she does have some pretty not nice checks out of the way already.
Unfortunately, without Tempered Sword, that 2 Fire Rod spin is not a kill.
And that is an Argus down for Wimpy. So
we've got ugly options left for our knowledge.
Yeah, at this point, what we know between our 2 runners, we don't know the entry medallion for Turtle Rock, but otherwise Turtle Rock is full clearable, if it is in fact Ether. We've got 3 items in Pendant Ice, and 3 items between Hammer Pegs, Smiths, and Purple Chest, and that is about it.
So, Wimpy has, with his route, has the option of going up the mountain before doing any of those terrible checks.
Now, this is actually possibly very good for Wimpy. If he gets this cane, goes up the mountain, and can enter TR, and TR's got Quake, he's got to step up right now. If he goes into TR and TR is empty, he's got to go into Ice or Smith Chain, and if... Oh, there's Pyramid Catfish as well. That is right. Thank you to our tracker, Professor Pixie, for reminding that we have 2 checks on the east side we haven't looked at yet.
Vanilla Quake would be terrible.
Vanilla Quake would be worth a laugh, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I was smiling thinking about it. To answer a question in chat, why did they skip Catfish? Well, there's really no reason to ever really go to Catfish. Especially since both runners did do Zora, and if I recall correctly, it was probably a good idea to go to Zora on the seed.
I mean, it was only a Moon Pearl. You don't need one of those.
Nah, who uses a Moon Pearl to get around? You just buddy walk through the Dark World, it's free. I'm obviously jesting.
Yeah, Moon Pearl is only a suggestion.
This is no major glitches. You can't just bunny ride your way around everything in the Dark World. You clip your way into every dungeon. That's just not how this works. This tournament is an NMG normal standard run. All routing and execution on display. And showing it good today are these 2 runners. Well, chat pointing out we had the mushroom to check. Well, the mushroom was easy to check with the flute as well. Now, interestingly, having the King of Samaria, Scottish Brave is opting to do Bomber Down as well. Possibly something she's a little bit more comfortable with.
If you know the bomb setup, and it's the one you're more comfortable with, by all means, play by comfort.
Always better to do what you know you can do safely and efficiently than to bite off a little more than you can chew and possibly lose time doing something you're not comfortable with. And same with combat. We saw both runners go into Moth with 7 hearts, and both prevailed. So here's a question I have for you, Zeke. With this little mishmash of chests that we have left to check, where are our swords at? We haven't seen a sword since very, very early in Bonk Rocks.
Well, in addition to all these other checks that they can be in, such as Turtle Rock, Ice Palace, all of those, swords can be in Ganon's Tower. So, they're probably in Ganon's tower, just to make this seed more difficult.
And silvers are probably in Ganon's tower, because of course they are.
They always are.
Wimpy also taking out that fire rod and doing a beautiful one cycle on Landmo. 6 shots, 3 kills, and 6 crystals for him. I don't know about you, Zeke, but I'd like to see Bombos on Turtle Rock's entry requirement.
I would love to see Bombos on Turtle Rock's entry requirement. However, I'm going to guess it's Ether.
Yeah, that would be the worst case scenario best guess here now, wouldn't it?
This seed already had 1 required pen dungeon. Why wouldn't you expect the others? Chat having a discussion on the kern jump that you could use to get to Catfish from King's Tomb. This seed, it made sense not to do so, because you got that fire rod that goes back to Mothula.
One of our trackers is already punching holes in how nice it would be to see Bombos on TR. Thanks for that, Trey.
Here's an interesting one.
Yeah, we're going to see Ice Palace coming up from Worldwide Wimpy. This... Oh, no. Is this going to be a look at the island
Did
item?
we ever check Hobo?
Neither runner. Ooh. Ooh, I like this. Completely forgot that because we had to water walk to get into Waterfall and check the Zora area, neither runner has checked Hobo to this point.
I completely forgot about Hobo.
Well, to be fair, he's kind of under a bridge and easy to forget. And today only has $50 anyway. And we did see Wimpy decide to water walk to Zora and not do the waterfall checks earlier, so that's probably his next port of call here. Now for Scottish Brave, you have to be thinking Ice Palace or Smith Chain, right? Because she's already said, no, I don't plan on going into TR. Pyramid Catfish actually looks like the call here.
I do agree with this decision. You're already in the Dark World, and this is now the current best time to get here.
Yeah, knowing that Pyramid Fairy can't have anything, this is... You probably do this now, or you never do. And now Wimpy going up the mountain. Oh, this is the moment we're all waiting for. Do we have to see Turtle Rock?
There's our last bottle.
According to the tracker, we only have 3. Where was the bottle that we skipped?
I thought we got another bottle in Swamp Palace.
All right, yes. So now it's saying we have 3 and 4. So that is a full complement of bottles for Scottish Brave and 3 for Worldwide Wimpy. And we did see him go pick up some blue potions from the magic shop before he came up here. So this is going to be his play to open up Turtle Rock. Scottish Brave is going to load her bottles up now with a couple blues and have a fairy to boot. Everyone hold your breath.
Please be Quake.
Turtle Rock is completely dead, and that means it's either Smith Chain or Ice Palace.
Or Vanilla.
Oh boy. Let's be honest, it's not going to be on Catfish.
I would die laughing if it was on Catfish right now.
Bookfish coming in from chat. You know, that wouldn't feel very good either. That would actually give us a reason to consider Smith Chain, though. And with that, chat, we also have a Deadestal Pedestal.
Thank goodness.
Sorry to Pedestal fans in chat. Unfortunately, because Quake is locking both our last crystal and our last pendant, we won't be seeing Ped today.
Scottish Brave also had the incentive to do Smith Chain with the bottle turn-in.
I like waiting to do your bottle turn-in as long as she did. Clearly, it didn't come out to be any sort of advantage for either runner here, but routing this in with a Flute 2, 3 to get into Village of Outcasts anyway, pretty good call.
And here is our... This actually is probably our game-deciding divergence. One of these runners will find Quake, or something leading to Quake.
And it's going to happen in a real quick fashion here, because with a cane to go through Ice Palace and with a mirror to do the Smith Chain, neither of these sets of checks are going to take our runners that much time to do.
So, we've got Smith Chain, we've got Ice Palace. One of these is the answer. Which do you want to see?
Wouldn't it just be poetic to see Quake on Purple Chest?
About as poetic as Quake on Cold Stare.
I don't know. Cold Stare doesn't strike me as a shaking kind of fella. Oh man, and at 1 hour, 14 minutes and change, we have a go mode for Worldwide Wimpy. Quake in the first check of Ice Palace.
Luckily for Scottish Brave, that will not take too long to get to after the Smith Chain, but it is just that much more time to have to make up.
This particular race could be decided on whether or not she gets a sword out of this purple chest, or
GT
the routing in GT, where that key shows up. Everyone start thinking of a number, because in a few minutes we're going to be thinking about where the key's going to show up and how we get to it.
First we have to find the Meyer big key. That's a challenge of its own right.
Everyone start thinking of a number. Where is the big key in Misery Mine? No, we're not playing that game. We want to see a Godmire. Everyone wants to see a Godmire. Oh, she hasn't checked the shovel yet. This is actually not a bad time to do this, because you can go ahead and flute off to 8 just to get straight to Ice Palace.
Meyer 2 giving Wimpy just a little bit of trouble today.
Now, this can't be any bad situation for either runner. We have a lamp, so Dark Meyer's off the table. Both runners have bottled up some blue goo for use later, and we had a very early powder, so safety's galore. Even though we're in green mail, this is a pretty comfortable situation to be in.
Now, I imagine both runners want to see that, not use that powder until the end of this dungeon, just in case either of them have set up spooky when they do this dungeon. Because magic powdering of anti-fairy does break your spooky action.
And just like that, we see Worldwide Wimpy gulp down some of that blue potion, so...
Those spikes do a lot of damage when you have to stand on them.
No Godmire, so we're on a big key hunt right now. Scottish Rave will take her dive into Ice Palace and probably be disgusted to see Quake in that Pengator room. I don't like seeing a dungeon item in that spot in Meyer.
We only have one of the chest keys, so it's technically out of logic still to do the left side fire checks in Misery Mire.
And just like that, there's your big key. We did see one item in Meyer, so unless Vitreous has an item, we could be looking at sword or silvers lingering and lurking in the darkness here after we leave.
And the Pengators are giving Scottish Brave just a bit of trouble as she picks up her Quake for go mode at 117.50 or so. Effectively a Misery Mire behind Worldwide Wimpy.
And for both of these runners, by the way, this is a Master Sword Vitreous they're going to have to do. With half magic and cape, though, it is pretty simple to take care of. You just sit there and spam away the slash button. Eventually, Vitreous will die.
Now we see if Wimpy has set up Spooky.
Sure looks like it.
And Spooky is active.
Yep. Saving those extra few seconds going all the way to Vitreous.
Scottish Brave does have an easier time with the Mire 2 room. And, hey, that's a strategy I've used on Vitreous before. You have a Master Sword, you have a cape. If you swing your sword fast enough, the cape drains very, very, very slowly.
Gonna see 8 shots to the eyeball and 1 into the wall, as you do, and Vitreous is down, and that, my friends in the audience, that is our 7th crystal for Worldwide Wimpy. Where is that Ganon's Tower Big Key going to become unearthed?
Well, I know what I like to say. And it looks like Corvain likes to say it as well in chat, because my preferred answer is check number 13. Just deep enough in that you start to worry about some of the nasty spots like behind Iso or Tile Room, and then you find it nicely and are relieved that you don't have to do either of them.
I would think both these runners would be excited to see it first, or early at the very least, but if you don't, you have an increased chance of finding that oh-so-coveted sword.
Or silver arrows.
Given the choice between a tempered sword or a second bow, which would you prefer here?
Tempered sword.
You rest my case.
Yes, but you could find... If you find the silver arrows, I'd rather have the silver arrows than neither of them. Now we just have to get into the entrance, and I believe our betting will close once we get into the tower with Worldwide Wimpy.
Oh, hello, QuakeOn Turtle Rock. See you later. I've got some other fish to fry, or in this case, a little bit of swine.
Bacon.
It's not something you see every day, is the cane through the Lionels. I had to think about what they were called for a moment.
It makes sense in this seed because we don't have a tempered sword. And Master Sword does not damage the Lionels. As Scottish Brave also gets spooky action. Just a little bit of spooky action to make your fireballs hit where they're not.
Alright, with that, we've got Scottish Brave going to Vitreous, but Worldwide Wimpy is on the search for the big key.
And we're going to put our hopes in Hokum to get the silver arrows!
And there are the silver arrows, and that's going to make a number of things a little bit more comfortable moving forward here.
Now, it does force us to go left. And with a key on the torch, that is our number 3, and Scottish Brave is doing a very similar strategy as Worldwide Wimpy for this Vitreous fight.
Alright, good old Stalfo's room, another 4 checks here. Number 4, another heart container, putting him at 11. Another key. Let's see, another key. That is now 3 keys.
So where's our armor today?
You know, if we hadn't picked up silvers, I almost would have thought this was a main tournament match from how it shook out. Yeah, no swords showing up except the 2 early. No mail upgrades. We're under 14 hearts. It's almost like playing a qualifier. That mirror shield, though.
This is true. We would not have a mirror shield if this were a main tournament match.
And let's be real here. Whether you have it or not, you're not really thinking about what level shields you're on until you're picking them up, right?
The only shield I care about is if I have a level 2 one before fighting blind, and that is number 9. Did anybody say 9?
But we've got an 8. And it was our tracker that guessed an 8.
Congratulations, Trey Spire, and congratulations to VXR for winning the subscription tier bet. Congratulations to our winners.
And I thought 10 was clever. Alright, Scottish Brave decided that she wanted to hug the Lionel. Nothing wrong with that.
Don't they look fluffy?
They're a lot burny when you touch them rather than fluffy, but you know.
So, we've got a climb with a Master Sword. This is not a fun climb.
And we got Silvers and Hope Room. That's not exactly how you'd like to draw that up either. And luckily, Scottish Brave is going to go pick up those silvers. Hopefully, she does Hope left here.
She has to, unless she wants to do Tower.
I mean, she could Hope left to Stalfos and then go back right, and that wouldn't exactly be ideal.
This one could come down to Master Sword, Ganon execution. Because it depends on how much practice you have with that fight, too. I don't think there's a meme name for a Hope Room, Stalfos Room, Compass Room route of Ganon's Tower. Because it's just not a good feeling route.
Alright, and already Wimpy is at the torches puzzle, the first of 2 rooms where you have to light these to light up your way.
And the fastest way when you're doing a lamp is fall off the edge.
Alright, we are looking for a sword, we are looking for a mail, we are looking for anything that might make this fight a little bit more comfortable, and in those 2 checks and Mini Helma Room, nothing. Nothing paid out. Except 20 rupees.
This is not a comfortable fight equipment, is it? Because in phase 1 and 2, that Trident and those Fire Bats are going to do 4 hearts of damage. And with a Master Sword, those phases 1 and 2 are going to take longer than you want them to.
We did see chat point out that Worldwide Wimpy did swallow a potion in Misery Mire to keep Spooky intact. So not finding a sword here, whether or not we choose to utilize the cape, have our magic we need to pour out to get through phases 1 and 2 of this Ganon fight, this could come out to be a very interesting conclusion to what has been a very close race the entire way through.
He does still have 2 potions, however, which should be plenty.
Well, that's more than enough. But anything can happen when you're facing off against the Big Pig with a Master Sword. Nice triple.
That was a triple. That was beautiful. Unfortunately, these lineups are not playing nice for Wimpy either.
It should be just one more here. And there it is. Aghanim 2 defeated. One remains.
Just the big pig himself.
Having spent a little bit of extra time in that room to powder the bunny beam, Scottish Brave does have a little reset on the RNG from how the Lamelas spawn, which didn't allow for a clean and comfortable one cycle here. She's struggling with that last silver. There we go. Lamo likes to not play nice when there's one or two left and you're just trying to dispatch them quickly.
And we have the fight with Ganon beginning for Worldwide Wimpy. Each of these phases takes 12 Master Sword spins, and you can get 2 of them in a row on positions like this, but it's still a long fight.
That should do it for Phase 1 if I've counted correctly. And that is an ideal position for Phase 2.
Especially with the cape, because you can get at least 10 of the spins here, and possibly all 12?
If you stand in and you started right after he goes to Phase 2, then you can get 12. But it's really close, and he's going to have to use a potion here. But that was a Phase 2 delete from Worldwide Wimpy. And those fire bats, oh, youch, they hurt.
Yeah, that's 2 hits and already you have 8 of your hearts gone. If you hug Ganon, you have to start over. Because as a reminder, well, 4 hearts is the most damage you see from almost anything. There is one enemy that does more than 4 hearts of damage. And that is a hug from the big pig himself.
Alright, on to Phase 4, we're going to see a lamp pulled out. Want to leave nothing to chance here. Get that torch glitch set up and get a couple good silver shots in on Ganon. Oh, and he takes a fall to a fire bat.
So, we have a race now.
No, and we've got a fall from Trolldorm at the top of Ganon's tower as well.
Oh, this is a spectacular race.
Oh, and it's not. Yeah, pick that up, Wimpy. Pick that up. You might need. That might be helpful to have that fairy. I believe he still has 1 blue potion, unless he's got 3 empty bottles. Now he has a fairy, and that is undoubtedly one of the best safeties to have in this Ganon fight here.
And Scottish Brave does get through the Moldorm 2 fight, and we'll be visiting the other fight 2 in this tower. Because there's 4 of them in here.
Alright, Wimpy being very careful about that spinning trident, because that would hurt.
Like I said, everything in the first 2 phases does at least 4 hearts of damage.
And just as it was for Wimpy, Aghanim not playing very nice for Scottish Brave.
But down goes the Dark Wizard. So, if Wimpy falls again, this could be game for Wimpy, but Wimpy does have, effectively, the entire first 2 phases of lead.
Oh man. And that goes the last blue potion for Worldwide Wimpy. He is down to 1 magic bar. And it's Phase 3. chat pointing out exactly what you don't want to see with this Master Sword Silver's fight. If you happen to spin just a little bit late and you get nipped by that fire bat, you're holding a button to try to go away from where that recoil is going to do. You get a reverse recoil. The fire bat will absolutely push you in the direction that you're trying to go away from. Ooh, that was close.
And that's 3. Alright, and all Wimpy has to do now is survive the most dangerous boss in this game. A 1x3 bridge. And ZSR Bot does spoil the surprise for us because, yes, Worldwide Wimpy does win this race with a official time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 41 seconds.
But right behind him is Scottish Brave. She's entered Phase 3, and this race was close from the get-go, Zeke. And it stayed that way.
It stayed that way. And it came down to a 50-50 gamble. And I do think we have some visitors to our commentary booth. Let's let Scottish Brave finish this race before we conduct this interview.
Here comes that Phase 4 for Scottish Brave. Leaving nothing to chance here, staying towards the center of the arena does make it a little bit easier to stay out of harm's way. That fire bat, that's the same fire bat that Wimpy took that caused him to fall. Oof.
Yeah, the torches were desynced very little bit. And down goes the pig.
If you haven't already, get your GGs in chat for both of these runners. This was a spectacular showdown for Worldwide Wimpy and Scottish Brave, and looks like this series is going to a Game 3.
That said, we did have our runners join us in the race room. So welcome and GG's to Scottish Brave and Worldwide Wimpy.
That's the second scene in a row where I've had to use Master Sword on Ganon.
That's only the first for me. But GG's, Wimpy, congrats, man.
We got them boots early, so I was like, whew! That's not going to be a difference in the race. I'm just curious what route Scottish took.
So, believe it or not, the two of you were pretty much on the same route until roughly Dark World. And then you traded places and reconverged in Pod. But you were lockstep for most of the game here, with a couple little differences here and there. The real difference that happened in this seed was, Wimpy, you were the first player to go to Ice Palace.
I figured as much. When I found the Flips on Green pendant, I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and dip Swamp. I'm still a medallion down. I would like another sword, so I'm basically going to full clear Swamp Palace anyway. Once I did that, I'm like, okay, I'll head over to Meyer, see what the medallion is. If it's something I don't have, I'll go and finish Desert, see if I get a sword there. I checked Checkerboard. I'm like, okay, well, my density's up the mountain. It could be in TR. Let me go check to see what TR is. Once I saw that Death Mountain had nothing, I'm like, I'm not doing Smith Chain. Smith Chain never has anything when it's this late. I'm going to go dip Ice Palace. And first Penguinator room, I'm like, all right, I've got my medallion. Let's go.
And that was the most intriguing part of the late game in this race. You had been the first person to go into Swamp, whereas Scottish Brave, you went up the mountain, and curiously, you didn't look at the TR entry, if I recall correctly. Was that on your mind at all?
No. I kind of thought about it a bit later on, but something I look for if I'm going to go in TR is a really early ice rod, and I don't know, I felt that I got it too late for there to be anything substantial in there. So I cleared the overworld first before dipping any further pendant dungeons, and I kind of stuck with it and decided ice over TR. I don't know why. Structural Mike hates this, I just had a feeling it went TR.
Well, I know
it turns out.
From racing with Brave a lot, because we're very friendly, competitive with each other. I stop in when she races. I normally stream a little bit later, so she's sleeping. I know Scottish loves playing the mountain when she can, so in the races that we've been doing on here, I've been trying to avoid the mountain, trying to stack as much as I can, so that way I can just do one trip versus she likes to go maybe one or two extra, which in the last time we raced, paid off for her brilliantly with Boots and Book, which led to Titans, and that's how she got ahead of me last time. So I just kind of figured I'll take a different strategy. I'll kind of do everything I can before I decide to do the mountain. So just this time ended up paying off a little bit for me to go into Ice Palace. So
yeah, I put off going into pods. Well, I felt like I did. I definitely felt like I put off going into pods. But it's green pendant, I was like, oh, that's going to either have everything or nothing. So I kind of waited a bit, and I was like, right, it's got to have something now. Made us wait to the very last before it gave us anything.
yeah, I didn't get my first crystal until like 30 minutes in Skullwoods, and I went down, did Thieves Town, and I said, well, I've got the flute, I'll go over to Eastern, and then I'll go up to Hera and do all my mountain then. That's when I headed over into Pod. I didn't want to try and loop it in with Eastern, because I knew I had a whole bunch of mountain stuff, especially after I got that hook shot. I'm like, there's got to be something up the mountain. Spoilers, there was nothing up the mountain.
No, there wasn't. It betrayed me.
Well, I mean, if you count the lamp being on the mountain and the bottles, there were 2 bottles in Paradox Cave. We were wondering
true.
This entire time, where are our bottles at? Where's the lamp going to be at? Where are the swords at? Where are the mails at? Where are silvers going to show up? The seed gave you all of those really nice to have items early, super stacked escape sequence, and then after that, just nothing for a long time. And what was really interesting is, as I kind of alluded to earlier, Scottish Brave, you both dipped into Skull Woods. You left and went straight to Thieves Town, and I think you got fortunate to see the cape because that drew you over to the Fire Rod. Wimpy picked up the Fire Rod and then did Skull Woods into Thieves Town. So for that little moment in the seed, you two are in the opposite place but still roughly at the same point of the seed, to a point where everything you did from that point on was basically in lockstep with one another. It was kind of fascinating to watch, actually.
Yeah, I think
so you were both in Green Pendant Pod at the same time, and you were both picking up your mitts and your flippers pretty much at the same time.
Yeah, I think we've got very similar written styles.
I almost went into Ice Palace after I picked up the flips. I was almost certain something was in ice, and I decided, no, I got density over in Swamp Palace. Let's go do that first, and then I can go check what the medallion is and kind of figure it out from there.
Now, that really was the divergent point in the races. Scottish Brave went up the mountain. Worldwide Wimpy went to Swamp Palace, and then you have them hopping place to place. One of them goes to Desert. One of them checks the Mire Medallion. One of them goes over to Swamp. And it literally came down to where that Quake Medallion ended up being, and it was in Ice Palace.
Yeah, I didn't have any inclination for Ice Palace until I'd cleared the Overworld.
Did you fake flippers over into Zora to get the Moon Pearl?
No, Water Walked, yeah.
That's what I did too. I was like, I'm going to skip Hobo here. I'll just go get Zora, and boom, Moon Pearl. I'm like,
I did,
right.
What's it called? Houlihan. I did Houlihan to make sure I had enough money, and then it was like, oh, here's all the money in the world. Like, cool, thanks, Seed. That's really nice of you.
Yeah, I was talking about how Wimpy was like 480-something rupees going over to Ice Rod Cave, and you pull 300 from the chest, and I'm just like, well, he's going to have to farm 20 rupees, and luckily he's not going to have to farm 20 rupees.
Well, under the big rock outside is 20 rupees. So when I hit that 483 in Moldorm Cave, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I just might as well go check Ice Rod Cave, loop in Zora, pick up the 20 bucks that I need out of the cave, and water walk over there. And when I found 300, I'm like, okay, so he's telling me to go do Zora. Let's go do Zora.
I think I had about 350, so I was a bit short. I just needed a wee top up.
You did the Houlihan and put you over to about 600, and then you picked up the 300. You're just like, come on, really?
Yeah, that was. I said something a little bit more foul than that, but yes, that is the polite version of what I thought when I saw that. It's like, cheers very much for your help. Thank you, Seed.
I was like, gee, thanks, game.
There's me trying to be all prepared, and you're just like, money.
So this came down to the wire. You had both of you had some, I would say, not very friendly patterns from Aghanim 2. Obviously, the fire bat that took Worldwide Wimpy. You got hit by the same fire bat, Scottish Brave, but you had neutral directional input, so you didn't actually take a fall. But you also fell to Moldorm almost within the same second that he fell to Ganon. And I'm like, what's happening? This whole seed's falling down.
It was a sympathy fall, and I felt that he'd fallen, so I was like, I'll fall too, just so he feels better. That's exactly what happened there.
Oh, but
see,
this was...
that dang fire bat. I was just wanting to hit Ganon with my blue sword, and it spit out, and I'm usually ahead. I thought I had the timing where he wasn't going to spit out the bat, but he did, and I fell. And I'm like, no.
Oh no, it's harsh, man. It's harsh when it happens.
I did have a nice triple to start Aga 2 though, so. And then he was a jerk in the other the next two phases, so.
Yeah, all in all, this was super close. From the starting gate all the way to the finish line, you two have shown a lot of fun stuff on this seed. This was a wonderful race, and I believe we've got a Game 3 coming up. Any idea when you two might be planning that?
No, I was hoping there wasn't going to be one.
I told you I was going to,
You did.
Your Fanny today. I did. I said it. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to use Fanny. She told me. She corrected me.
That means something different to me.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know. I'm just over here, in America, and she's over there in Scotland.
But yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully, maybe Thursday. Maybe Thursday.
Thursday would work for me. So
there you go. Yeah, it'd be Thursday. Same time.
Sure. I was thinking maybe, is there any time in the morning for you that you can race? Or
No.
you just go, no? Okay, then same time works. Same time works.
Yeah.
See, I'm a night body, but if you start work at like 8 o'clock in the morning, that's totally cool with me, so.
Yeah. we'll arrange a time. Thursday at some time.
Probably around the same time.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing it. And once again, GG's. And if you haven't followed these two runners, I strongly recommend you give them a follow. They put on a fantastic show and a seed that gave us everything we wanted early and then literally nothing else.
That was a very good representation of the main tournament until, Gan's Tower.
Those silvers, it's like, where's our mail upgrades? Where's our sword upgrades? Where are the silvers going to show up? And then the silvers are in Hope Room.
Don't need them. We don't need them.
Let's see a Master Sword Silverless in Game 3, right?
Don't even give me boots. Don't give me flute. Just make it a drag. I love those seeds. Just make the seed as long as possible.
You want to be an Aghanim and pedestal seed too?
Yes, make it I love long seeds. Everyone hates them. Everyone, casual boots. I'm like, no, let me crawl, because then it's all about maneuvering through screens, and it's real technical versus I'm just gonna dash. Nah, give me that slow grind.
I am the opposite. Give me them boots.
And I'm the middle guy that says, give me something and I'll just make it work. The more train wreck a seed is, the more fun it is to play, but the more, the more jet a seed is, the harder it is to read. There's really a sliding scale for how difficult or how entertaining this randomizer can be, and this one kind of put that scale to its limits, showing us double progression on Green Pendant and all the quick movement items and no safeties until late, and it was absolutely it was a fun kind of seed to watch and absolutely fun to call, and you two made it look kind of easy at some points. I'm very happy to have been here.
Thank you very much for having us.
So yeah, absolutely give him a follow. because this is what they do. They put on good shows.
I know. I think I'm kind of bad at this game, so.
I think that can be said for all of us. We all think we're bad at this game, and then we get on the screen and we actually look really good.
Yeah, if you give me an ice rod hunt, I'm last locationing it every single time. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's going to be last place I look.
Isn't that what an ice rod hunt's meant to be?
Yes, torture. But when I'm racing, I don't want that. Give me Uncle Ice Rod, and then I'll be super happy.
It's just going to be on Laser Bridge, and you know it.
I know. I know it's torture sometimes, these games.
Yeah. So, do you two have any final thoughts?
I want a bacon sword for our next seed. Please.
Yeah. Let's go big. Let's go butter.
I'm okay without butter. Give me a bacon sword, and I'm gonna be happy.
I just want it all. I want red mail, I want butter, I want silvers. But...
oh wait, I'm not supposed to sing on these.
So, red mail, butter, no silvers, no potions. Let's go.
Yeah, alright, I'll take it. Yeah, if that's the deal, I'll take that deal. But apart from that, yeah, no, thank you very much for having us. Thank you for commentating, and thank you to Trey and Pixie for tracking as well.
Same, thank you very much for everyone who put on the show, Zaru, Zeke, our trackers, and Zelda Speedruns for letting us race here. Hopefully we'll be on Thursday for our Game 3.
Yeah, huge shout-outs to everyone involved here. Thanks, Zeke, for joining me today. Trey and Pixie pressing the buttons and keeping us honest. Siberian and Zelda Speedruns for putting on the show. And, of course, Scottish, Brave, and Worldwide Wimpy. More Challenge Cup action coming up later this week, hopefully from these two runners. Looks like it's going to be Thursday, possibly at the same time. You want to see what's going on in the Challenge Cup? There's the challenge link in chat. You want to see what's going on Zelda Speedruns? There's our schedule. Thanks for joining us.
And as a small preview before we finish this off, later today at 9 PM Eastern, we have a Zelda 2 Randomizer weekly race. And tomorrow at 5 PM Eastern, we are finishing up one of our other tournaments, the A Link to the Past NMG tournament, the Grand Finals Game 2 between Wayne and Erira.
That's going to be a hype match.
And possibly for the rest of the week, maybe some other Challenge Cup matches if we find a crew for the restreams. And with everything so far, I only have to say thank you very much for watching, and see you next time here on ZSR.